to strengthen our vetting requirements and our vetting system here in the United States for all visas. He directed the Secretary of State to do that. There was a pause in some of that vetting, as you all know, recently, especially with respect to students from some certain countries. But the vetting has continued, and it's stronger than ever before. As for specifics on how the vetting process has changed, I would defer you to the Department of State. As you know, they're in charge of things like that.
It was supposed to be just another awards night in Los Angeles. Red carpet, flashing cameras, political digs wrapped in jokes. Nothing unusual until Karoline Leavitt showed up. Wearing a sleek dark green gown and her signature silver cross, Karoline entered with her head held high. But she wasn't alone. Walking beside her was her husband, Daniel Whitmore, a former Marine. Quiet, steady, not a celebrity, but the kind of man who turned heads by his presence alone. The press noticed him. Inside the ballroom, everyone was buzzing. Then the lights dimmed, and out walked Tom Cruise, the host of the night. Suave, charming, smiling, but with an edge that had cut plenty before. He made his usual jabs at senators, stars, and people who believe the earth is flat. Then he saw Karoline and her husband. His quip about her being married to a man who looked like he just wandered off a Marine recruitment poster sparked laughs. But Karoline's smile didn't waver, though her husband's jaw tensed. As the night went on, Karoline stood up, placed her napkin on the table, and walked backstage with Daniel. Tom Cruise had just wrapped up another political joke when suddenly the lights dimmed again and a new spotlight snapped on. From the shadows emerged Karoline, confident, calm, and cutting through the silence. She took the second microphone, ignoring Tom. She addressed the crowd. "It's easy to mock people who don't live in your world. But when Tom mocked my husband, a man who spent 10 years in the Marines, that wasn't a joke." Her words were cutting, and the room tensed. She went on, "When I walked in here, I knew I wasn't your kind of guest. I come from service, not Hollywood." The audience was still, and then, with one final line, "If you're going to make fun of my husband, at least try to be original." Jason Bourne would have lost to this man in a second. The crowd erupted into applause, with some veterans in the back standing to cheer. Backstage, Daniel was waiting for her. "That was something," he said quietly. Karoline smiled. "Finally." But that was just the beginning. Meanwhile, Tom Cruise was pacing backstage. The tension was palpable. When he returned to the stage, he tried to brush it off with more jokes, but the room felt off. He cracked a few more jokes, but the energy had shifted. Then, he made the mistake of mocking Karoline's leadership. "Look, I respect the troops, but let's not confuse being married to a Marine with knowing everything about leadership," he said. The room froze. Backstage, Daniel didn't hesitate. "You good with me walking in there?" he asked Karoline. She nodded, stepping aside. Daniel walked into the spotlight, making his way to the center of the room. "You can joke all you want, but the moment you questioned her leadership, you made it personal," he said, looking directly at Tom. His calm words hit hard. The audience gasped. Tom was speechless. Daniel nodded once, handed back the mic, and walked out. The backlash on social media was swift. Hashtags like "Marius Daniel did that" and "To Marine MC drop" were trending. People were applauding the quiet strength of Daniel's words. By the time the commercial break hit, Twitter was ablaze with clips of the confrontation. Even the most liberal news outlets like CNN couldn't ignore it. Karoline was getting messages of support from veterans, journalists, and college students, but she wasn't paying attention to her phone. She was brewing coffee, like it was just another day. The next day, Tom Cruise's team scrambled to manage the crisis. Their solution? Try to frame it as humor gone wrong. But that didn't work. Karoline had already made it clear that this wasn't about politics, it was about respect. In a press conference, she revealed the truth behind the viral moment, explaining how Tom had ghosted a charity event in 2019, leaving veterans humiliated. "This isn't about politics," she said. "It's about respect." The world took notice. Fox News, CBS, and even CNN covered her story. But what really shocked the industry was when Keanu Reeves tweeted his support for Karoline. "I was invited to the same veterans event in 2019. Tom didn't show. Karoline Leavitt spoke the truth," he wrote. And with that, the tide began to turn. Other actors and producers started speaking out against Tom. Karoline didn't gloat. She simply kept moving forward. But she wasn't done yet. She had one more move to make. Tom had threatened her with a defamation lawsuit, but Karoline had kept her receipts, emails, memos, and records that documented Tom's behavior. She released it all in a simple but devastating statement. "If Tom wants a public war, I'm happy to schedule one in court or on camera." The legal battle was over before it even began. Tom Cruise's team quietly dropped the defamation lawsuit. No statement, no apology, no fanfare. It was over. But Karoline's victory wasn't just in winning a legal battle, it was in proving that truth could outshine fame. Later at the Veterans Honor Summit in Virginia, Karoline gave a speech that resonated deeply. She spoke not about Tom,